make two types of fish curry, one hot and one spicy, and one without too much spice. So these are the ingredients that you mostly need, which is like your standard yogurt, coconut cream, capsicum, chili and all that. Okay, and firstly, so the fishes is very important for a fish curry. So clean the fish and then cut them up. I sort of skip the detail because I know it's not the greatest to watch fish blood and all that, so you just sort of like chop them up and then cut through the fishes so the spices in that can seep through in, like I'm doing in the video. So if you do the same, so you just sort of like slice through them, that way the spices and all that will go through. So it's very simple. It's just flour. And this is a very simple dish. Like most of the dishes I make are very simple. And they're quite easy. The process are quite easy. And so masala or curry powder or whatever you call it. So you add a little bit of curry according to your taste. And you add a little bit of masala or curry powder into the flour where you will coat the fish. Eggs, so you've got 2 eggs, break 2 to 3 eggs and mix them. So they go in a separate bowl. Okay, the first bowl where you add the masala, you put a little bit of water in that, so you mix a bit of water into that. And the consistency is not too thick and it shouldn't be too runny. It's just for the batter. Okay, so fish you dip into the to the eggs, and then to the batter mix, and then coat it with flour. And you just repeat the process with the rest of them. Egg, and then follow through with the batter mix, and then the flour, and then you coat it with flour. It's very simple. This is the messy part of making fish curry, which is this part here. And apart from that, everything else is pretty simple and straightforward. So I make these type of dishes on in the weekends, because usually I have my brothers coming over. They're quite big eaters, so usually I make a big portion or big serving of it. Okay, now you prepare your vegetables. So important to do this, so once you start your cooking, you know, you don't have to go back and forth into cutting vegetables and cutting onions and all these type of things. So we start off by chopping up our onions. Then followed by ginger. Then garlic. grind the garlic, and then it's always, you know, like, garlic is always nice, grind freshly. So in my household, okay, so you grind the ginger as well. So there's like about 5 of us, and 2, they don't really eat a lot of spices. So usually when I make meals, if I'm going to make curry, I make 2 types of curry. So one that's not too spicy and the other one with a little bit of spice. So yeah, my mother lives with me, so I also have to cook according to her taste. And the older she gets, the less tolerant she is of spices. So spice and salt and all that. So I try to use fresh vegetables with all my cooking and not too much salt. Okay, so in a pan, we're going to fry the fish that you battered. So it's pretty straightforward as well. Fry it, cook on both sides, and then and that's it. And then we will proceed to the next stage of making the curry. Yeah, so I do most of the cooking in my household. So I'm usually at uni, and then I go to work, and then after that I will come home and I will cook. And in the morning I will get up and make breakfast for everybody, and then I go to my classes, and sometimes maybe 4 or 5 times out of a week I also make my mother's lunch in the morning. And then you know, she can just heat that up while I'm away, or else on my lunch break I will try and come back, and if I have time I will come back to make her lunch, and then I'll go back to uni or work, either one. So yeah, so that's pretty much my schedule. So anyway, back to the cooking. The fish is cooking now, so you just have to watch not to burn them and keep turning it to both sides to make sure that the fish is evenly cooked. I should have really speed this process through. So on a paper towel, put a paper towel, because usually the paper towel will help drain the oil. And for frying, I normally use dripping, lamb dripping, and if I don't have any, I will use coconut oil. And I like coconut oil because, you know, fish has that really fishy smell, and coconut oil is really nice when you fry fish in them. So I buy my coconut oil from Lanka Exotic. They've got some nice coconut oil. It's raw pressed, so that's what I use for most of my cooking. So anyway, so once the fish is cooked, you just take them out and place them on the tray that's prepared. And once the frying is done, we're pretty much nearly towards the end of it, because we just have to fry the masala up and then add the fish. So we're nearly there. Sometimes I put them in the oven. I cook it in the oven. So if I have a lot more time, I'll cook it in the oven. So once I finish battering the fish, I will put it on a tray and then put them in the oven for maybe 30-40 minutes. It's just today I didn't have a lot of time and I've got people coming over, so I just wanted to get all the cooking done and then I can clean up a bit before my visitors arrive. There you go, so there's the fried fish. This is the end result. There's quite a bit there to use, and I'll put the rest in the fridge to make something else. Okay, so we've got 2 pots in the element now. So we've got one where we're going to have a hot and spicy fish curry, and the other one there will be no masala whatsoever. So that one would be for my mother and one other member of my household. So we'll start with the pot where we're going to have the spicy curry. Just put onion, you cook the onion the normal way. Fry the onion. And the pot on the far end, I didn't show it, but I've got water in there. I put a little bit of water, so then roughly about maybe 3 to 4 cups of water. I put it in there and I will let that boil. Forgotten to cut tomato, and I'm cutting tomato on the far end. One of the most important components of curries is tomatoes. So you continue frying the onion. Use a little bit of vegetable oil actually for frying the onion. I'm going to put a little bit more water. Boil the water in the kettle, and then I will add it just so it'll speed up the process. Here's a lot of little look at my fried fish. There's quite a bit of fried fish there, so I won't be using all of it. I will use some, and then I will leave the rest to make other dishes. Sometimes I have to do shortcuts because I'm so busy with my schedule. If I can, like with frying fishes, I will make sure I fry enough fish for today, and then maybe make fish not the next day but the day after that. I will make fish. Okay, so you add onion to the boiled water on the other pot. And then some garlic, and then a little bit of ginger. Not too much ginger, just a little bit of ginger. So that pot on the far end will be for my mother. So it'll be for 2 of the, I'll call them team members in my household that doesn't like spice. They don't tolerate spice. So they can eat spice but not too much of it. So yeah, when I cook, because I like spices and I want to eat food that I like, so that's why I mostly make 2 to 3 meals sometimes, is because just to cater for everybody's needs. Okay, so once it's boiled, once the water is boiled, you will have to add coconut cream into it. So on the spicy part, you add the ginger. So the onion is starting to brown, so you start to add your ingredients into it. And then add garlic. Just make sure to use different spoons for different ones. So now I'm going to add the coconut cream into the other pot. So I will add, so that's roughly about 1/4 cup. But that would all depend on your taste, and so yeah. Okay, so add the tomato into the spicy pot and then stir that in. And it's quite simple because you can see the process. So whichever method of cooking you prefer to make, you would see what I'm putting into each pot. So you close the lid on the other one and wait for it to boil. So you just add a little bit more tomato. It'll just give more taste into the paste. So one of the important things to do when you're making curry is you always make sure you stir. I use a non-stick pan so that I don't burn it. And you don't want to burn it because if you burn the tomatoes and all that, the smell will be overpowering. Okay, so the other pot is boiling. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the fish into it. So that's nearly done actually. So you just add fish. So I'm just adding fish for my mother's dinner, lunch actually. So it'll be for 2 people. So and she doesn't eat much, so she will probably just eat 1 piece, and then the rest will be devoured by my brothers when they visit. So I have my brothers visit nearly every day. So I mostly cook quite a bit because I know they'll be over to eat before they go back to their wives. So at this stage, you don't stir too much because if you keep stirring and using a spoon, you will break the fish. So what I do is I usually just sort of like not shake, but move the pot around so that the fish is not stuck to the bottom. Anyway, you will see the action when I do it. Because once I put the fish inside it, I try to avoid using the spoon or try to avoid stirring. Yeah, because then it'll break. I've had many curries in the past, fish curries, where the fish is broken inside, and I don't like that. I like to see my fish whole and see it as a fish, not as tiny little pieces. So the leftover coconut cream that was in the bowl, I added a bit of water into it, and then I add the water into my paste. So now the paste is forming. And depending on the thickness, if you think it's too thick, if you think it's too thin, so you add water to the paste for the consistency that you like. Yeah. And the last step for my mother's fish is spring onion. My kitchen is full of herb plants, and most of the leaves and most of the vegetables I use are mostly grown. And if I don't have them grown, then of course I will buy it. So then my paste was a little bit thick, so I added water just to thin it out a bit because you don't want it to be too thick, especially with fish. So you can add salt, because salt is optional. So I try not to use a lot of salt in my cooking at home, because just for health benefits for the people that I live with. So I don't use a lot of salt most of the time. But this is totally up to you, because if you like salt, then you add salt. So that's optional. So now I'm waiting for the paste just to sort of like bubble up, because once it bubbles up, and then I'll add the fish, because I know that the paste is ready and the curry and things are cooked. The other thing also I like to add to my fish curry is capsicum. But I don't add the capsicum in the beginning of the process. So I add the capsicum towards the end, because you don't want it to overcook. So I add it towards the end. So I will just put it, once you turn it off and let it simmer in the pot, that's when I add the capsicum. I will add it into the curry. And it gives it just that, I don't know what it is. It has this fresh taste into it. So you don't want it soft and gooey. You still want the capsicum to be still crunchy when you're eating the curry. And I will repeat the process with the capsicum on the spicy curry as well. So it's all ready. The paste is boiling. I can see it's boiling, so it's ready. So I will put the fish inside it. And that's pretty much it for fish curry. There you go. So that's a bit of a bird's eye view. You place the fish inside it. So once you put the fish inside, you try not to use as big spoons, to be stirring and things. See, look, I'm doing there. I'm just using my little spoon just to move them around so they can all evenly spread within the juice inside the pot. So that's all I do now, is just I keep moving the pot around. I sort of swirl it, but I don't use the spoon anymore. So I continue cutting capsicum. So like I said before, towards the end of the process, I will cut the capsicum. I'll turn off the element and then I'll cut the capsicum. I will put the lid on and leave it there for maybe about 5 minutes, and then I'll serve the food. And there's my mother's fish curry with no spice. So like every process of meals that I make, I always make sure to have salad. We like to eat broccoli and carrots. So and we eat mostly spicy food. So yeah, so we do eat broccoli. And so the dressing that I use for most of my salad, I don't use mayonnaise. I don't use any of those type of dressing. I only use yogurt very rarely. So I'd use yogurt and only squeeze lemon. So with this one here, all I do is I drip some yogurt on top of it, and then I'll mix it and squeeze a bit of lemon, and that's it. And that's the dressing I use, and it's really nice, especially with broccoli, carrot, and cucumber. So that's what I try to keep it healthy and light. And there you go, 2 types of fish curry. There you go. I cooked some kumara and cassava in the oven because my mother likes that. And there's my favorite, yummy, my type of curry, and of course the salad, and rice. And rice is quite simple. I just used it in the rice cooker. And if you don't know how to make rice, you can just always search for Uncle Roger's recipe. And there you go. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Take care and be safe.
Yum. Yum.